Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Week 6 of college football is not nearly as big as Week 5. We only have 3 ranked versus ranked matchups compared to the 5 we had last week. But if this year has told us anything, it is that anything can happen on any given Saturday. So today, guys, we are here to break down the 5 most underrated games that do not include ranked versus ranked teams, but games that definitely could play a major role in individual conference races or even on the national stage when it comes to the playoff race. We're here to break down those 5 games, the biggest in our opinion, share our official predictions, and get you ready for this upcoming Saturday. So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We are so glad you could join us today, and we want you, again, to become a part of our GE Nation. And you can do that by, of course, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and sharing all of our videos, guys. Help us grow our community by doing all of that, and also checking out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Again, guys, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years, hitting over 60% of our spread picks, over 83% on the money line. You do not want to miss out on those picks, guys, at one of the lowest prices in the country for some of the best picks in the country. Go sign up for those today and become a part of our GE Nation. So let's dive into these 5 games here, guys. Some of them are pretty easy to pick, but you're going to understand why we put them up here in a second. But let's start up at the top. The Red River rivalry, the Red River Showdown, shootout, whatever you want to call it. Big-time rivalry game between Texas and Oklahoma. And, you know, guys, we are living in a world where on this weekend, the second weekend of October, we are not, talking so much about Texas, Oklahoma. We're talking more about TCU and Kansas. And a prediction for that will come out here in just a few days. But TCU and Kansas is the premier Big 12 matchup, one of the premier games of the weekend, not one of the most historic rivalry games in all of college football. That's how crazy this season has been. The Longhorns and the Sooners, guys, both enter this game unranked, but both need this win to stay alive in the Big 12 title hunt. Texas and Oklahoma both in at 3-2, but the Longhorns 1-1 in conference play. Oklahoma 0-2 in conference play following their upset loss to Kansas State 2 weeks ago, and then the blowout loss to TCU just last week. Again, it's a must-win. It's obviously you want to win in this rivalry game. You want to beat your rival, but you know that if you want to have the slim chance of making the Big 12 championship game, you have to win this game. The loser will be put out. Oklahoma, the one thing they have going for them is they've won 4 straight. They have won 4 straight over Texas, and 8 of the last 9 meetings between the Longhorns and the Sooners have been decided by 1 possession. So we should be in store for a thriller. Another close 1-possession game. Texas looking to end that 4-game losing streak to the Sooners. The big storyline I'm looking at here is obviously how does Oklahoma bounce back? Oklahoma beats TCU. If they had done that, they would be favored in this game. People wouldn't be so worried about the Sooners. But they looked horrible against the Horned Frogs, allowing nearly 700 yards of offense to TCU, losing their quarterback in Dillon Gabriel, who very much, there's a good possibility, might not be playing in this game against Texas. And that's obviously one advantage that Texas is going to have. More than likely, their star quarterback, Quinn Ewers, will be back for this game. He was injured in the Alabama matchup, missed the last few weeks, most likely will be back. Texas gains a quarterback. Oklahoma could be without theirs in Dillon Gabriel. And even if they did have him, my biggest concern right now is the Oklahoma defense. Oklahoma, guys, they're giving up they're giving up well over 200 passing yards per game, and they're allowing 198.2 rushing yards per game as well. Texas can air it out with Quinn Ewers, was doing very well before he got hurt, and they have one of the best running backs in the country in Bijan Robinson. Longhorns averaging over 150 rushing yards per game. I think Oklahoma took a beating last week against TCU, and that's not one that I think they can bounce back from quick enough. Texas wins the Red River Showdown in Dallas, eliminates Oklahoma from the Big 12 title race, and hands them their 3rd straight loss. Hard to believe, guys. Over here, Auburn at number 2, Georgia. We don't have to touch much on this game. Why is this game up here? The Deep South's oldest rivalry. Again, big-time rivalry matchup. It's worth talking about. This is a bigger game for Georgia than it is for Auburn. This is an opportunity for Georgia to make a statement. 2 weeks ago, they didn't look that hot against Kent State. But everybody goes, okay, it's not that big a deal. They won by 17. Let's move on. Then last week, they barely beat Missouri, a bad Missouri team at that, beating the Tigers 26-22, not taking the lead till about 4 minutes left in the entire game. Georgia was the number 1 team in the country up until last week. Now they have dropped to number 2. They dropped to number 3 in our rankings. This is an opportunity for the Bulldogs to make a statement, to say, hey, we don't know what happened against Kent State. We definitely don't know what happened against Missouri, but we're fine. We're still dominant. We're going to beat up on one of our biggest rivals and beat Auburn and maybe cover that spread. We're not saying they are, but the spread knocking at 30 points in Athens. So again, this is an opportunity for Georgia to establish themselves and say, hey, last 2 weeks were kind of a fluke. We're still good. Don't start freaking out about us. But it's also an opportunity here for Auburn. You know, could this be the last week that Brian Harsin is the coach of the Tigers? You know, they were prepared to fire Harsin 2 weeks ago. Auburn was lucky enough to escape Missouri. He kept his job. Then the Tigers blew a 17-point lead to LSU last week at home. He's still around. It's more likely inevitable that Auburn will fire Harsin by season's end, but could he be gone on Sunday if Georgia just dominates Auburn in this game, if they just annihilate the Tigers? Again, they have won 5 straight games over Auburn, 4 of them coming by at least 17 points. If Georgia wins big and flexes their muscles, Harsin could be gone on Sunday morning. North Carolina at Miami. Why is this game up here? Why is the battle between 2 unranked teams up here? Well, it's big for the ACC Coastal. Huge for the ACC Coastal. One that is now more wide open than we thought after Pittsburgh's shocking loss to Georgia Tech last week. North Carolina, guys, is 4-1, 1-0 in conference play. Miami, yes, 2-2, lost to Middle Tennessee State, 2-2, but have not played a conference game yet. So North Carolina wins this game. They're 2-0 in conference play, 5-1 on the year, and could be setting up a huge showdown between UNC and Duke, a game that actually could determine who wins the Coastal Division, believe it or not. That's if UNC wins. If Miami wins, they're 3-2, they're back on track, they're 1-0 in conference play, and they are right back in the mix of winning that division. Again, so many teams at play here. North Carolina, Duke, Miami, Pittsburgh lost, but still in the mix. Virginia Tech even still in the mix. I mean, there are opportunities here for everybody, but UNC can create a little separation if they win this game. Bottom line is, I don't think the Tar Heels do it. I don't think the Tar Heels have enough to win. This is going to be a fantastic quarterback matchup. Drake May of North Carolina has already thrown for over 1,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. He's going to have a good day against this Miami defense. No doubt about it. But Tyler Van Dyke could even have a better day. Van Dyke, over 800 yards this year, 4 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. Not great stats, but he's still a dang good quarterback, and he's facing a North Carolina defense that has been abysmal this year. A North Carolina defense that's giving up 257.8 passing yards per game and 193 rushing yards per game as well. The Tar Heels' strength is their offense. It's definitely not their defense. The game in Miami, I know they typically don't have much of a home field advantage, but they will benefit slightly from that. They will also benefit from the bye week that they have. Miami got that week of rest following the Middle Tennessee loss. I think Mario Cristobal rights the ship, and the Hurricanes get a huge win at home over the Tar Heels and keep their ACC title hopes alive and continue to make the ACC Coastal Division a wide-open race. Over in the Pac-12, Washington State at number 6 USC. Why is this one up here? Well, again, this is a Washington State team that should be 5-0. They shouldn't have lost that game to Oregon. The Cougars just had an ultimate choke job in the final minutes, lost the game to the Ducks. This is a Washington State team that's severely underrated against a number 6 USC team that could be a little bit overrated. Trojans really haven't played anybody. They narrowly escaped Oregon State 2 weeks ago. They got past Arizona State this last week by 17, but it wasn't all that impressive. And like this North Carolina-Miami game, this is going to be a fantastic quarterback battle. Cam Ward of Washington State has thrown for over 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns this year. Caleb Williams, obviously at USC, has also thrown for over 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns to just 1 interception. To me, guys, this comes down to defense. And surprisingly, USC's defense has been better than expected. You look at the Trojans, guys, 19 sacks on the year. They have 19 sacks on the year and have forced 15 turnovers. They are a turnover-forcing machine. No one really saw that coming in year 1 under Lincoln Riley. Washington State, also 18 sacks, has forced 8 turnovers. They're no stranger to that stuff either. But I think USC's offensive line holds up just enough. USC's offense certainly has been more explosive and is better than that of Washington State's. As long as USC does not look ahead to next week, the Trojans face Utah next week, they should get a win over the Cougars, but this game will be much closer than people expect. Cougars are going to give them a fight because they have a stingy defense, but USC wins and sets up a huge Pac-12 showdown next week, potentially between the Utes and the Trojans in Salt Lake City. And then finally, guys, Texas A&M at number 1, Alabama. Why is this game up here? Look, it's an easy pick, just like the Auburn-Georgia game. Easily can pick Georgia, easily can pick Alabama. This game is up here to just really quickly talk about all the hype that people are hyping up this game for, and we're going to shut it down really, really quick. If you remember, back in the preseason, our Alabama prediction video was titled, Why Alabama Will Kill Texas A&M or Destroy Texas A&M or whatever it is. And everybody blew up about that. Everybody got upset about that. This game, I'm here to tell you, will not be a contest, even if Bryce Young doesn't play. If Jalen Milroe is the quarterback for Alabama on Saturday night, Alabama will still destroy Texas A&M. Yes, we know it's the feud between Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban, all that offseason talking that they did with each other. Yes, we know it is the revenge game for Alabama after they lost to Texas A&M just last year. We understand that. The revenge is certainly going to play a factor in a night game in Tuscaloosa. But Alabama, guys, has been playing fantastic football. A&M has not. They shouldn't have beat Miami. They shouldn't have beat Arkansas. And then last week against Mississippi State, they got annihilated 42-24. The defense was terrible. The offense is still struggling mightily. Bama is just allowing 87.4 rushing yards per game. That's what A&M wants to do. They're not going to be able to get a run against the Tide, and the quarterback issue has been horrible. Whether it was Haynes King, whether it was Max Johnson, whatever, A&M has not had a passing game, and it's not all of a sudden going to come to life in Tuscaloosa on Saturday night. Factor in also that Alabama won 8 straight games over Texas A&M prior to last year's loss. Only 2 of them came by 1 possession, and since Jimbo Fisher took over as head coach for the Aggies, Alabama is 3-1 against Texas A&M, with the 3 wins coming by an average of 23 points. Hype this game up all you want. Put it on primetime CBS. Talk about the coaching feud between Fisher and Saban. This game will be over by halftime or midway through the third quarter. Alabama rolls on Saturday, and we can just crush and shut down all the hype that this game is getting. Easy pick. Alabama wins big on Saturday. So there you have it, guys. Those 5 underrated games, whatever you want to call them, that don't include ranked versus ranked teams, but are going to have a major role and play a major role on the national stage or just in individual conference races. The Red River Showdown, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, huge coastal matchup between North Carolina and Miami, huge Pac-12 showdown between the Cougars and the Trojans, and then a game that is being overhyped between Texas A&M and Alabama, one we wanted to put up here because we kind of wish it was a top 10, top 15 matchup. But we didn't get that luxury. Alabama rolls just like we predicted back in the preseason. So having said all of that, guys, get ready because these next 3 days we're going to be breaking down the ranked versus ranked matchups. We got Tennessee and LSU. We got the Kansas TCU game. And we've got Utah and UCLA. All those coming in the next few days, along with a handful of live streams that you do not want to miss. So having said that, guys, thank you all so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Do not miss out on some of the best picks in the country, guys. Go check it out. Become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.